pushing record now, and this is Will Saunders' screen. So Will, take it away.
Hi, this is Will Saunders for the Access and Connectivity Toolkit. We're a civic infrastructure project designed to help small communities plan for and improve their broadband. Today we had three, maybe four things we really wanted to accomplish, and we were really thrilled with the progress we made. First thing we were able to knock out pretty quickly was secure access to our production server. We're able to wrangle Nginx a little bit and make the HTTPS work. Thrilled to see that happen. Secondly, we were able to put together a script for a training video and some promotional material. Aaliyah Willingham did a great job of pulling a script together. We were also fortunate to be able to get our hands on some old photos from one of the previous in-person hackathons before we were all socially distanced. And we're going to work some of that material into our promotion and presentation. Our third goal for today was to figure out an architecture for working with a related complementary application that's really very different from us. We were fortunate to have Bob Balance, who's the founder and lead programmer for that team. It's called Internet is Infrastructure, or I3. And we were able to put together an architecture diagram about how we're going to pull information from that system and save it into our tool, combining the advantages of both applications. Kudos and thanks to Sarthak Mishra for giving us some great insight on how to solution that and put it together. As a result, we were able to really explore and dive into the fun stuff in this cool, interactive, very data-driven and existing application that'll save a lot of work for us and provide a lot of value for our beta customers. And we were hoping to get them started pretty soon. We even went beyond that and were able to learn about an existing social forum for people interested in promoting and exchanging information about broadband in their areas. So we're able to begin to place some of our information in this Internet as Infrastructure forum. Great progress today. That's our app, Act Broadband Online. We're looking actively for communities all over the place to start trying it out. So if you have ideas, feel free to put folks in touch with us through the DemocracyLab page. Thank you all very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Will. Excellent. So next up is Banana App. Apollo and team, are you ready?
There you go. Give me one sec. I'm gonna share my screen. Sorry. Then I'll just share my screen, right? Here you go. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again. Thank you to DemocracyLab again for your hard work, to your partners as well. And thank you to our amazing teammates. Today, this is our team. Me, Sankey, Gori, Jackson, Tao, Joseph, Kara, we got Dipali. We got our new teammates. We got Heather, Baha, we got Eric, EU, Gambir. Thank you for your help, your time, and the effort you have given us today is very much appreciated. As for our recap, I think there's been a great learning opportunity day for us. And I will ask my teammate, Jackson, to expound on that.
Hi, my name is Jackson. I'm a junior dev lead on the team. We had, our goals today were to do mostly UI front-end work, to build the shell out before we do some more back-end work. However, we met unforeseen issue after issue, onboarding all of our developers and having them set up their environments, issues that we had not seen before, and issues that were nearly unique to each individual. With 7+ volunteers that we had on board, we were stretched thin trying to help everyone out. only 2 people were able to actually get work done today, unfortunately, towards the project. They were able to, Eric Soto specifically, I don't know if he's in here today or in the call right now, he was able to get some of our forget password modal, get that imagery, the presentation up properly. As for everyone else, what's the takeaway from this is that we have to expect unforeseen issues in the future for the next hackathon, plan for these issues, plan for the unexpected, and that if we do come up with these issues again where we have hours on end of volunteers who wish they could contribute, but they're stuck onboarding, we need to prepare tasks that are not just technical or tasks on how to implement what we need to get done for the hackathon, but we need to start thinking and prepare more on how we can create tasks for volunteers that are design oriented, thinking oriented, so that while they're onboarding, that while the environment's getting set up, or if they can't get set up, or even if they don't code at all, they can at least make progress towards the project on maybe steps we can do once they can actually code, or larger design architecture decisions. So that's hopefully by the next hackathon, we can actually get people to coding, and if not, hopefully have more tasks prepared that are cerebral in nature.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mark. To encourage everyone, join our team. Before COVID, we meet twice a week. We have our dev call, and then we have our weekly Saturday team sync. So you guys can join us, get boba, eat dim sum, and those great food. But we'll see you again. Thank you so much. We hope to work with you, man. Thank you, Mark.
Great. And there we go. Okay, so next up is Climate Tree. Greg and team, are you ready?
Yeah, all set. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, got to share it first. There we go. How's that?
Now we got it.
Okay. Oops.
I think you're in the second slide. Yeah.
There we go. Here we go. So thanks to today's team. Great help from David Lee and Eric Evans, who are part of the cybersecurity nonprofit. Northeastern University students checked in for some extra credit. Kanika and Shweta. Our geospatial architect was present, Michael Patrick, as were both myself and Abby Rusky. And thanks goes out to Northeastern University for their professor and students, DemocracyLab, of course, for making this all possible, and now here for the award today. And I'll pass the mic to David.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. This is David Lee from CSNP. Myself and Eric Evans from the organization. We volunteered today to help Greg map out some security planning with identities and look at how systems are running on Climate Tree so far as it moves into its post-beta phase. So one of the requirements we gathered was it looks like we need a content management system that will check the content that users upload or recommend onto the site for suitability for the site, and pass the content to a moderator who can then review it and approve it into the final production site. And we felt as a group this was a huge reduction in risk, not only to security, but just to curate the content of the whole Climate Tree site. So Climate Tree is transitioning from a student-led development effort into its live beta phase, and now we're looking at what are the next steps. We explored moving the app possibly to a Docker-sized for a Docker loadout for better containerization, better security all around, and usability. And today we perform lots of identity management documentation on the front end and the back end to review how users are onboarded to the system, as well as how how systems administrators can access the various dependencies on the back end. And so we reviewed the top priorities for security on the app, and I definitely encourage everybody who's developing an app to do the same at an early stage to save you hassle later. And again, we're with Cybersecurity Nonprofit, and you know, we love helping you know, projects like Greg's you know, succeed and be safe and secure. So a huge thank you to Eric Evans from our team. I'll pass it back to Greg.
Great. And quickly, Michael Patrick and I figured out how to apply the Here Technology Award and technology for location disambiguation, both from a naming side and user location side, as well as how jurisdictions are embedded into one another. That is Seattle's in King County, which is in Washington State, which is in the United States. And just seeing how Here would be able to intervene in every step of this, from, you know, citizens, we have a problem, to a mature solution suggested on the right, and finding similar situations where folks had to recruit, you know, the people who lead their jurisdictions, whether they're the city mayor, county commissioners, governor, etc. And yeah, so that wraps it up for Climate Tree. Thanks so much, and hope you visit the site, and accepting volunteers anytime. Thank you.
Excellent. So maybe we'll give Greg a little bit, and the Climate Tree team, a little bit of extra time. I think we're going to have a number of teams who don't end up presenting, so we may have, maybe we'll stretch it, instead of an extra 30 seconds, can make it an extra minute if you really need it, which is what Climate Tree just had there. All right, so next up is the COVID-19 PPE allocation optimization tool.
We need a shorter name. That's what I've come to the conclusion of at the end of this hackathon. No, I'm just going to take 10 seconds to say thank you to the team that leaned in today before handing it over to them to present. I think we came away with some really good outputs, a lot of questions as well from the requirements that we need to go back and take a look at as well. But it was a great start to the hackathon. So with that, I'll hand it off to Aiden to just talk through the enhanced Excel version he was able to build out.
Yeah, so I built out we started building out a advanced version of an Excel doc. I will share it right now from what we got and what it's morphed into. So what we initially got was just a linear analysis on how to best allocate, and this was only a model for being able to deal with one set of information. So we were able to shift that out from the Excel spreadsheet, or from the CSVs that we got, to being able to automatically build out an entire system that can then run an analysis on that properly set up. I will shift this off to the next person. I do not remember who the next person is, though.
Yeah, so before we get to Kira, so I think the goal was we wanted to test out and make sure that we were really understanding the basics of this solution, and while we transition to starting to create an MVP with, so I'll hand it over to Kira for the data collection component where she was able to build out the Google Forms. Kira, take it away.
So Kari over here,
Kari.
No worries. Part of my job in this was to create a form so that public health officials, department officials could be able to order supplies as needed for their counties based on what their needs were. So by creating a Google Doc, I was able to, so I can have some issues showing my screen, but through the information that was given to me from the county official health department, I was able to create a Google form that was broken down into sections and allowed county health department officials to choose the quantity, type, size, and masks of materials needed for their healthcare workers.
All right, thank you, Carrie. So next up, we'll actually pivot to Sarah. Sarah, Brad, John, and I'm going to butcher this. But there was a team of 4, apologize, who worked through the actual build for the technical solution. So Sarah, take it away.
Hi, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so I can show you guys what we were able to create. So we created this Java GUI application where the user, it would exist on the user system, and it would work on any system, and they would be able to go in and upload each of the files. So the facilities, which would have information on all of the demand, and the supplies file, which would have information on what's available. And this front end would then talk to this. We were able to create, it was John and Yanu who were able to create this Ruby script that would take in the files, process it, and then output the proper allocation. So I'll go ahead and pass it to John to kind of talk a little bit more about that.
So on the back end with the Ruby script, we did take in those 2 CSV files. We converted them into an array of hashes, and then we iterated through the inventory by the group ID and tried to allocate as evenly and as equally as possible those items to the individual facilities. Our goal was 75% because with a shortage, we want to give as much as possible to each facility as we can. So we then took that data that we grabbed, repackaged it into another CSV file, and that is what we outputted onto the screen that Sarah showed you. And I'll pass it over to Yanu to talk about some future improvements to that algorithm itself.
We are at 4 minutes, team, so maybe just some real quick concluding comments.
Yeah, sure. So that form that Kari was mentioning would be essential in order to make that algorithm more optimized, because currently facilities can't specify the type of face protection or the sizing for their gowns. So that would really help with that. And then the second point would be on the fulfillment side. Knowing more information about how the fulfillment orders are actually conducted will help us output the CSV file or format the CSV file, so it helps cater to that process. Yeah.
Right.
And sincere apologize to Yanu for dropping your name.
Fine.
Great. So next up is DemocracyLab. Marlon, are you ready?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so today was myself and Nick Zhang working on creating a group creation workflow for DemocracyLab for any other civic groups who want to have a collection of projects on the site. Gives them a presence that they can live. So we got a good start today. Made some good progress. Started with the group creation workflow. I'll just bring up this already started one to illustrate. Fill out the basic information for the group, where it is, description, and picture on it. Relevant links and files. And this is still a work in progress, but this is a place where you can select which projects belong to your group. And also got to start on the group profile page, which shows the information that you can enter at this point, but later on we expect to have a section for projects that are part of the group and volunteers that are part of the group, and also issues that the group deals with. So yeah, it's a good start. Thanks, Nick, for your help, and yeah, keep an eye on this space.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlon. Next up is GiveOnLive. Christina?
Yes, hello. Yes, I'm so ready for you. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go for this. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So first, thank you so much for this opportunity, and just want to thank everyone. This is amazing. This is actually our maybe 8th hackathon, but it was our first. We applied to this one first. So thanks for having that in advance. Okay, so just want to show a video real quick. So today our goals were to get some PR and media stuff ready for the story, basically. And I wanted to do something more family oriented as opposed to the other ones. So, this is personal story. Cool. So I did that on iMovie. You know, I'm not a skilled movie editor. I'm definitely not a director. So that was challenging for me, but iMovie is really simple. So I recommend that. So our goals today was, to get the story down. We have a bunch of other ones, but I do want to show you the site. So this is built on WordPress previously. So we're not really focused on this right now because we want to build out the mobile app. So as you can see, it's kind of similar to Wikipedia. What this is a database of what, the heart of it is, it's a calendar. So if you imagine, there's a lot of live stream going on and it's very positive and it's fun. And if you saw, my silly video, it got me in order, and I started making, this is my personal calendar that I contribute to the database. And I started splitting up my day with mind, body, soul, trying to get some different things in, fun with the kids because I have nephews, Bitcoin trading. These are my interests, right? So I was like, well, I love my schedule. I'm starting to feel better in the quarantine. I'm at day 57 now. So doing these live streams made me feel better. So I'm like, wow, why don't we share it with everyone in the world? So kind of like Wikipedia, we're only going to make a profile if it's a very famous thing, but we can actually watch it straight from the site. So this was our first live streaming. We shared it with our friends and we're like, hey guys, on GiveOnLive, we're gonna stream Andrea Bocelli, and that was so fun. So for now, the heart of our mission is that we want this to be built out in a very robust way, and one of our strategies is actually using Facebook. So for now, so as an ode to mothers, we created a separate GiveLive for moms. Now we have 11 members. I posted the daily, they should watch this tomorrow, this music class for kids. So here, we have that one. This is a specialized one. So basically we're gonna build out as a kind of case studies. We're gonna build out all the different ones. We have the regular GiveOnLive body fitness. We've been supporting this one, Seder Stream. So we saw how fast it was. And that's why one of our goals was to upload the artists from Seder Stream, but it was not enough time. But this group grew so fast, and that was because it was a specialized interest and getting faith, right? And then this group also grew very, very fast.
Christina,
and that was
we're at 4 minutes, so just conclude.
Well, anyway, so basically we're growing on Facebook interest groups. We're growing the database, and it's a self-submission. Okay, it's crowdsourced. And then today, development-wise, our lead developer, we use Slack for organizing. Last but not least, our lead developer got some stuff done. As you can see, this is today. We're integrating the back end to the front end using Slack. So Slack is actually the bridge right now for our back end and our front end. And
Great, Christina. That's excellent work on all of this. And I think you are too modest about your movie editing skills. I'm pretty that you were able to create something that engaging in such a short time. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I mean, go iMovie all day long.
Cool. Okay, next up is Orcasound. Brendan and team, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. All right, so today we were really productive, and we had an international virtual hacking day today. So we had devs from Northeast Mexico, from India, and then from coast to coast, from New York, San Francisco, San Juan Island, and obviously here in Seattle. So pretty excited to work with everyone today. And today what we did was, as you can see on the beta site this morning on the left, this is what we started with. And
uh-oh. Your screen. There we go.
How about now?
Yep.
All right. So just because I'm pretty happy about this slide, I wanted to show you this slide really quick. Just all the people that worked on the, all the devs that worked on the project today was pretty awesome. So here is the base site this morning on the left, and then this is what we ended up with for the live site today. So we cleaned up the call to actions, and things work a little bit more smoothly and according to user feedback that I collected in the last month or so. So that's what we did today. Apologize for the technical difficulty, but it was awesome to get all this work done, and looking forward to continued improvement of the Orcasound site.
Awesome, looks great. Thank you very much. So next up is Pinion. I don't know if Scott, are you here? I think Scott had said he was just going to be here in the morning, so not hugely surprising. So next up is Heather and the team at Recycle Tutor. Heather, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Go ahead and share my screen here. Oh, no spoilers, you see the last slide. All right, so me and my team worked on Recycle Tutor today. Obviously, the problems with recycling is that people don't know the rules. So they're different even within a city. There will be a variety of different rules. So it's really hard to keep track. So we made this recycling simulator for educating citizens on local recycling guidelines. And we used computer vision and machine learning to detect for people's faces and bodies. I was the project lead. I designed the concept and I made the art assets. Sarah Fisher contributed some subject matter expertise. She did a lot of great research, and she was also there for testing. And Joe wrote the code. So this was what we started with. It was a conceptual animation that I had made the night before, and just kind of explaining what we were going for. And these were some of the design considerations. We wanted that to be accessible to as many people as possible. We wanted it to be clear. We didn't want to have to explain it to people. We didn't want to have to read things. That's a problem for people that are not English literate. Our biggest obstacle with this was time, obviously. I think a lot of people had that problem. But our software was pretty complicated. We had a lot of different things we had to download, and that was a big bottleneck because the time it took to download, and then the versions we had weren't compatible, so we had to go back and get different versions and experiment there just to get started. The setup was like over half the time probably. But we did get some computer vision implemented. We couldn't find this data set for the body and hand detection, but we got face detection. Computers are really good at finding faces. These are our image assets that we created. I made these with graphite crayon and graphite pencils. And this is a video of our app in action. Totally unedited video. This is the debug version, just to show how it's working. Sorry, there's no sound, but we don't have sound effects anyway. Yeah, but so that's first video. We had some different code considerations. We realized that you have to be your face has to be straight up and down. You can't tilt it. Eventually we got it so it was okay to turn your head, but at first that was a problem. And then we just had everything that ever happens with every development cycle, which is bugs and crashes and that sort of thing, normal troubleshooting. And then with the design, we did a lot of iterations on what was working with this whole new concept of using faces. The bin at first was too high up, so it wasn't comfortable to get your face around to that part of the screen. Our target area at first for the bin was really small. It was just a little rectangle, and we found it was a better experience to make that target area the full length of the screen. And it gave the same effect of gravity pulling down the crumpled paper. There's a lot of things we'd like to add. Obviously, we'd like to make everything actually work, because right now it's not a complete concept, it's just proof of concept. There will be categories to actually teach people what they need to do. For example, paper, compost, aluminum. And then those will be geolocated to that person's particular address, which we will find a database to know what the rules are for specific addresses. People will be able to automatically find their own address with their ISP, or they will enter their own manually.
Well, thank you very much, Heather.
Sure.
A lot of progress for today.
Sure.
It was wonderful. And I think it's hilarious that it's just the fact that it's hard to find the tools to do hand recognition. Your acting skills are to be applauded for being able to levitate the paper so gracefully. Wonderful. So next up is the secure client data solution for homeless service providers, aka Bill Dunn Technologies. Richard, are you ready?
I am. Heather, would you mind stopping the share screen so I can take it over?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I might
At the top, there should be, well, I don't actually know what.
Okay, I think I have to leave the meeting.
I'm gonna share real quick, and then I think I can stop share. And so I think
There we go.
Richard, are you ready?
Thanks. Yeah, let me share this screen with everyone. Mateus was super generous today with wrangling kind of my thoughts into one, clearly a shorter name, which is helpful, and then two, helping me kind of organize the value propositions of a shared data ingress inclusive intake, what we're calling it, for service providers. And then we got some kind of mock-ups of some initial experience done as well. So we kind of talked about the problem this morning, just homeless service providers having siloed data and then having to duplicate that entry over and over again and the experience it creates. And it's kind of it as an impediment to collaboration and data analysis across the system. So, the current experience kind of being that we took an example of a family immigrating into Seattle from the Dominican Republic, father working in construction, construction job ends, there isn't another job on the back end, and so missing rent payments loses a place to live, and so now the family is homeless, and how do they go? Currently, that kind of looks like walking into a caseworker or a family center or someone asking for help, them collecting some information, referring them out to other orgs. Those orgs don't have any visibility to that information, so that handoff is sometimes warm if possible, not always. Sometimes they're not prepared for things like an interpreter being needed or some kind of mental issues or disabilities they need to prepare for. And so there's some friction in just the handoff itself. Even once they get there, they then ask the exact same questions over and over again, and that process repeats itself as they work with various organizations. So what we would like it to look like, and we took this example and then some of the organizations that I work closely with, so I didn't mind calling them out here, they're awesome. The Allen Family Center kind of meets with the family to begin the casework and make referrals. They collect the data in the bottom left, which is kind of bare bones, just about the person and how to contact them. And they start making referrals out to these other organizations. When they get to Mary's Place would know that an interpreter is needed based on the information shared from the family center, so they can arrange for that ahead of time. They may know that there are transportation issues, etc. They can help with that as well. They collect additional information that gets added to the initial information collected by the Allen Center that they need to provide their services and enter them into coordinated entry for shelter. They then meet with the Refugee Women's Alliance, who needs all of that information that's been collected to date, plus additional information about what jobs, skills, and hours available to work, etc., so that they can begin a job search. And then finally, Child Care Resources comes in and tries to find childcare that meets the family's needs, and a couple pieces of additional information that hasn't already been collected there. So this is a much cleaner system. It allows people to collaborate more effectively across orgs. It allows them to prepare for the needs of the people they're going to meet, and also removes the duplicate entry. So what might that look like? Mateus, you did all of this. This is not my my skill set. So if you want to talk to this, you're more than welcome to.
Richard, that is time. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know that I don't like this timekeeper job in the these final presentations, because
no, it's
I want
great
to keep hearing more about every one of these projects.
Well, Mateus has made this workflow super slick, and we're going to build off of it. So thank you to him.
Cool. Well, thanks. It's great to see all the progress that you made there today. It was worth all the arm twisting that I had to do to convince you that it was you were ready for it.
Yes, it was.
Great. Next up is.
And thanks for that too.
You're welcome. Next up is Shelter App. Raj, are you ready? You're on mute, Raj.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. First of all, I would like to thank Judah for helping volunteer with us today. Just to give a brief overview, like Shelter App or Strapped is a mobile app that helps homeless and at-risk families connect to services like food, shelter, health, resources, and work. So all of this service information is being entered by volunteers. We have close to 6,800 resources across the US, which were entered by volunteers themselves. Every time a volunteer enters these services, they get outdated because the information gets updated by the volunteers than the service providers. So we created a volunteer portal. We are trying to create a volunteer portal where we try to create a scraper which does a Google search, based off of the name and city, and it pulls out the address information by searching Google, Facebook, and it also searches for contact email, phone number, which are really important when homeless people or unhoused community try to reach out these services. It also tries to go into websites of these nonprofits and tries to find the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and like their social media links. It also pulls out the schedule information, if at all, if they have any. And if you look in here, the left side is where all the web crawler or the scrape data is, and the middle part is where like the app data is the data which we have within the app. So the volunteers can come in and directly check in like, okay, this is, so the scrape data found out that the zip code is different here. So they can select on which data needs to be updated, and they update the data in the final data set, and they click on the update service, and it just gets updated in the back end. So this one doesn't have any data, but like, let's refresh, and it should show Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all added in the app directly in the backend. So today, Judah and I helped, worked on the UI, making the UI better. She helped with some of the redesigning issues, and we had in the app like some of these. So that's what, like, yeah, thanks Judah, and like thanks DemocracyLab for this volunteer event, hackathon event.
Great. Well, we are glad you are here. Good to see that the progress continues. And if I remember right, Raj, you said you already have 70,000 users.
That's
right?
true. Like, so like we used to have like 35,000 users until March. That's around 2 years. It took 2 years for us to get those many users. And within the last 1 month, we had like close to 35,000 users.
Yeah.
So like lots of people are looking for resources like this, and hope we could help them out.
UX improvements matter. Great. Thank you. Next up is Vendito. Annaliz, are you here? Okay, she does not seem to be here. And so then we have the Washington Conviction Vacation Project. Seamus, are you ready?
Sure. So just like before, no visual aid here. I'll just talk about work product. So what was accomplished today is that we created, structured, and filled a database with the hierarchy of prospective representative users from each of the 20 organizations across Washington State that would be most likely to use the V1 calculator. We structured and created a pipeline for courting the stakeholders as participants in user research as well as eventual users. We created about 20% of the outreach messaging, and we also staged the initial messaging to be sent out Monday morning so that it doesn't seem like a weird thing sent out over the weekend. Next steps, we're going to engage in user research around the product, design and develop to incorporate the new information into the existing prototype. In parallel, we need to test and confirm the calculus within the product itself. So the calculus, of course, in parallel with the design. And then finally, we deploy into the field to a community of users that, because of this process now that seems onerous and tedious, that community of users are already invested in and ready for the product to be received.
Great. Thank you very much, Seamus, for that update. I am going to, Dustin was not able to stay, but he did record a video. his video is slightly long, so I will cut him off at the point where he should be, but I won't bother with the gong, I don't think. So here is Dustin describing his progress on AB Street.
Can you just play it twice speed?
What's that? Play it at light speed. That's a good idea. Let me do that. Play it at maybe 1.5 speed here. See what happens. There we go. And I will make it larger and push play.
I can't make the presentation today at 4, but I wanted to give an update on what I worked on today. So for background, I've been working on pedestrianized streets in Seattle. So SDOT has been closing some residential streets to give people more room for walking in the streets for social distancing. And a group called Neighborhood Greenways has proposed a 130-mile network throughout Seattle of these closures. And so I've been using AB Street, which is a traffic simulation tool, to understand these changes. So first I'll kind of describe what was working before today. So part of the proposal was to take this stretch of Lake Washington Boulevard, starting from Madison and going through the Arboretum, and just to close it to through traffic, and instead just make it available for people cycling and walking. And so that's initially kind of the edit that exists here. And so one of the things I've been working on is to understand the impacts of that change on other traffic. So notably, you can see here, this display shows what roads are being used more or less versus before the change. And so originally, a lot of drivers would take Lake Washington Boulevard all the way up, or all the way south. But because of this change, they're actually detouring through the neighborhood here. This is like 26th and Ward, kind of like on the just on the side of the Arboretum. And so this is like a small neighborhood street. It's probably not designed for a lot of through traffic. And so one of the things to do is sort of apply some traffic calming in this neighborhood area in order to like mitigate the traffic going through and encourage the people to cut over to 23rd and use the arterial. So the way that worked before today was in the AB Streets edit mode, you can click on an individual road and say, okay, right now this is a 25-mile-an-hour road. Let's go ahead and change it to 15. Just to slow things down. And so drivers pick the fastest route to their goal. And so if a lot of streets are suddenly slower, more of them will probably choose 23rd. And in real life, this traffic calming measure could be implemented really cheaply with cones and other temporary objects on the road. So before today, I had to individually click on each road and change the speed limit. This is kind of painful. So the thing that I worked on today is a bulk editor. So now there's there's actually kind of two modes. One of them lets you like pick an entire route. So for example, we could like select a slice of 23rd Avenue, say all the way up here. And so now this entire, we've selected 17 different roads, and in one shot we can just go change the speed limit if we wanted. And then the other mode that I worked on today was sort of a freehand paint mode. So if you hold a key while you move the mouse around, we can now just like select a bunch of roads, and if I make a mistake, I can hold another key and kind of erase them. But yeah, so just this is like a much faster way of kind of like selecting this whole area and saying, originally it was probably about 25 miles an hour, but let's just go ahead and like apply traffic calming to all of this and make it say like 15. And so if we try this change out, we can see indeed if people will cut through or not. So it's looking better. It looks like still we have some cross traffic here. Maybe I didn't edit all the roads, or maybe we need to further limit the speed limit. But as you can see, less people are cutting through, and through kind of trial and error, I could figure out why drivers are attempting to choose these routes and kind of make corrections for it. So the other change I worked on today isn't quite done. It's a little bit more complicated, but basically, if you have so some people have trips. The agents in AB Street have trips that begin, usually they go from one building to another, but sometimes they go off map. And so like I'm just simulating some small section of Seattle. And so a lot of trips will start somewhere off map, maybe like way on the east side, and then come in, maybe they'll enter the map through like the I-90 bridge and then in somewhere here. And so before, the way that I was picking the kind of like border intersection along the edge of the map to use, I was just taking the point somewhere off map and then finding the closest border just by a straight line distance. And so this is incredibly unrealistic. And so instead, the other thing that I worked on today was to use a much larger map and do full pathfinding there to find exactly a route that somebody would take, and then take that path and match it to the smaller map and say what border node along the smaller map matches a path in the big route, and use that to have more realistic entry and exit from the map. And I think it's working, but it's causing some issues, and so it's going to take a little bit more work today. Anyway, sorry I can't make the presentation, but thanks so much for watching this, and I hope y'all had fun today. Bye.
All right. Well,
amazing.
I feel energized. That was great. Oh, I'm not quite sure what that is, but somehow I got another YouTube video started immediately afterwards, but I think we're okay. So that is great. That is all of our project presentations. I want to, again, thank everyone. What I think we'll do is those of you who were here last time, remember that we did, if you've been to our in-person events, we have a sort of a collective debrief. We just open up the floor, let people share, what they liked, what they think could have done better, suggestions for improvement. I think that what we'll do is a variation of what we did last time, where I'm going to type into the chat, a question. What was the thing you liked best about today's event? And the way that we'll do this is everybody type, but nobody hit return. Just think of the thing that you liked. Everybody type something in that, regardless of what it is that you enjoyed about today. And we'll give everybody about, 15 to 20 seconds to do that. And then we'll all hit return at once. We'll have a data dump of everybody's opinion. And then we'll do the same thing. What could we do better? Then I will make sure to save the chat before exiting the meeting so that we capture all of that information. So we will give ourselves a little bit more time. All right, does anybody feel like they need more time than they have had so far? All right, then on the count of 3, we will say 1, 2, 3, enter. All right, and then the next question will be, what suggestions do you have for improvement? And so we'll give ourselves 30 seconds to think about that. We're going to be at risk of ending on time. All right, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, enter. All right, so there we have it. I have no idea what we all just put, but I will save the chat before exiting the meeting, so it will all be there. If you have additional thoughts about what things we can improve, please feel free to send me a message on Slack. Inside the general session document is the link to our the DemocracyLab Slack channel. You can either post in the Hack for Your Mother channel or send me a direct message if you prefer. There's also that feedback survey, which would give you an opportunity to provide anonymous feedback if you want to. That's also in the doc for the main session, and I will be sending it out by email shortly. But again, I guess the biggest thing for me is just thank all of you for all of your amazing contributions. Every time we do one of these events, I walk away with a warm heart, feeling inspired, and that all of the work that goes into putting them on is more than worth it, because the work that we're doing at DemocracyLab helps all of you do the work you're doing better, and that's why we're doing it. So we're thrilled to be able to see all of the awesome things that come out, especially during these final presentations. I really do not enjoy being the Grinch that rings the bell, so apologies for having to do that. But thank you, everyone. Our next event will be this summer. I did not nail down a date yet just because of uncertainties related to COVID, but it will either be in July or early August, and we will let everyone know once we've got that date firmed up. So thanks again, everyone, on a great day of hacking. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you,
Mark.
everybody.
Thanks, Mark. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
to
you,
all.
Mark.
Thanks
Good
all.
putting that on 1.5 speed. That worked perfect.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I felt a little bit dizzy, I think, but it was exciting.
Now, if you
Reminds
put
me,
Greg
reminds me of
on
that movie. Reminds me of that movie Short Circuit and how Johnny Number 5 used to read. You know.
Yeah.
You're going into the Wayback Machine there. I'm not sure I remember that. There was a robot in that movie, wasn't there? That's all I remember about that one, was there was a robot. Excellent. Yeah, I would
Great
love to.
tunes too to start the day.
I knew you'd appreciate it, Greg.
What was that album? It sounded like there was a Cora in there or something.
Yeah, so a number of the songs were from this album called Playing for Change, which is a bunch of covers. And really the way to best appreciate it is looking them up on YouTube, because what they basically do is they have musicians from all these different cities around the world all play snippets of that song, whatever song it is. And so you're seeing, people in all these different settings contributing to the one piece of music. And they're all pretty cool covers to begin with. So.
Right on. Yeah, I've seen that. That is cool.
Yeah. And then this is just one of my favorite songs, Ben Harper's Fight for Your Mind.
So Mark, I got in about 3/4 of the way through the intro. Is that video on YouTube or whatever?
Yeah, and I should stop recording this. I don't know that we need to capture our brilliant conversation here.